G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach Swordplay and welcome to the Round 4 stock market video. Hope that you're all well. Now I'm going to keep the intro very short here. I'll probably be a little bit late uploading this because I've been struggling just with the amount of time up my sleeve. I've put 5 videos out in a row, and with the early Thursday games, geez, it's a tight turnaround, but I have done my best to give you all the relevant information that you need for all the relevant players this week. And as you can see, I have stacked the thumbnail because I couldn't just select 5 players. We've got your Moraes, your Bice, your Baz, your Humpty, your Marich, your keeper in Rankin, and then we've got 2 underperforming primos. I'm not saying that you have to trade them out, but I tell you what, for some coaches, the Horny Man and the Shees are absolutely on the chopping block. So let's get straight into it, guys. Thank you very much to all of the new subscribers. We're above 6.5k now. That's extremely humbling. I have had a few questions about what the symbols mean, so during the week I will be creating a separate video just on the symbols, so you can actually go back to that one for any reference points. So let's get into it, and we're going to start off, as we always do, with the 500k plus defenders. Let's get into it. At the top list this week, we have Jack Sinclair. He forms part of the top 3, or the big official 3, in defence. Rossco, Whitfield and Sinclair, I think they're the blokes that are really standing out at the moment. Then you've got your players like your Clark, your Holmes. They're probably the only blokes that I'd be considering trading in here, but Sinclair's gone bananas in the last couple of weeks. Almost caught up with Rossco for the #1 defensive average. Went nuts against the Cats for a 145. Went even better last week with a 40 disposal performance. It was against lowly ranked Tigers, but a massive 162. And surprise, surprise, his last 2 have been at Marvel. Just loves playing there, taking kick-ins, getting 1-2s, just picking it up. You're paying a high price, but getting a quality top 3 defender in return. Rossco hasn't gone under 135, if you can believe it. Has a fantastic matchup this week against the Tigers. I expect him to feast at the MCG, deliver us a nice captain score. Not looking like having a bad game. Kitty's still a while off. He's looking as fit as ever. So Rossco, even at the age, I think you get him in your side. Whitfield, he's elite. You only need to look at his scoring history. Started off the year with a 111, 128 and a 109. I think he only gets better. Look away as a non-owner because he's coming up against the Eagles and then the Saints the week after. Both teams leak defensive points like a tap, so he's also a great VC option in the short term with that fixture. Lazy 34 touches last week, 25 of those being kicks. Just can't see this pick going wrong apart from a possible defensive forward tag or maybe a weird injury. If you're after a real pod, then you could look at Harry Himmelberg. Seems to have a nice defensive role. 95, 110, 117 in his first 3. That's seen him rise above 500k, and he'll make right on 12k if he scores 100 this week. Wanganeen Miller, I've got the safe as houses icon on. A consistent player from week to week. He's just getting outshadowed by Jack Sinclair at the moment, but he's scoring well in his own right. 106 average is very solid. Maxi Holmes, he's been a great starting selection and started the season with 125, 91 and a 127. So if a low 90 is his floor, he seems to be a safe buy now selection. Could possibly have to deal with a tag or 2 during the season, but looks every bit the top 6 defender for now anyway. Pick that shouldn't let you down. Jordan Clark hit a low 100 in what was, I'd say, a solid performance, but nothing spectacular. 22 touches at 88% efficiency, a goal, 6 tackles. Seems like his floor will be high, and a tier 2 premium defender that'll rarely let you down. Towards the bottom of the list, we're looking at the break-evens in red. Sicily's a swingman with a bye. Not up there with the big dogs, but not as much of a problem as the next 3. Has a bye this week. Luke Ryan is officially a red flag now. Not looking like a top 8 to 10 keeper. He's no longer that seagull who gets 25 kicks, intercepts over the place. The role doesn't seem to be there, so I'd be very tempted to jump ship, taking his average and break even into consideration as well. Now the Shees, he is starting to become a real problem, and a sideways move to one of the big 3 looks so tempting. I'm just not in the position to do that myself, but I know some that are. Do we keep the faith or not? The role's all over the place, and if it wasn't for his last quarter role change last week, his score would have been in disaster territory. He only had 14 touches up until half time for exploding with 12 at 92% efficiency, in the last quarter. And that last quarter performance is why many of us selected him as our lock and load D1. He's way too talented not to come good, but it may be more role dependent than I first thought. A low ton in round 1, followed by an 81 and an 89. Just doesn't fill you with confidence. Neither does a break even at 181. He's already lost close to 45k, and even with a projected 107, which would be his highest score of the year, he'll still go down 30k. So it's a luxury trade if you don't have the patience or the faith, but for most, I think we need to ride it out and just hope becomes good soon. And Tommy Stewart, if you hold, you hold again. I'm not sure if he's back this week, but you can never trust Geelong. Chris Scott, come on, man. We all knew that Stewie wasn't going to play, but anyways, not known as we wait and pounce in a couple of weeks if he's looking good, because that low score is going to drop out of his system, and he should be pretty much a bargain buy. On to the defenders, 250 to 500k. At the top, we have Josh Sin. Looked pretty impressive on the weekend. 80 points from 18 touches with a lovely kick-to-handball ratio, 16 kicks, 2 handballs. Had 571 metres gained, which was handy for the side. Had 5 kick-ins, played on 100% of the time. We know he's an early draft pick with a history of durability issues, but looks a very talented player if he can stay on the park, and has a very nice role as well. Jake Bowie, I'll be the first one to admit that I didn't give this fella enough respect last week. Played another ripper, and his break even is still at 16 after a nice rise. Has that nice distributing role, usually uses it well. A pod on fire, and certainly a lone wolf move if you decide to trade him in. The fridge, Joel Frazier. Unfortunately, no clutch time goal this week to boost that score up to a triple figure range. He was actually looking good up until half time, but just faded out. 16 touches, 6 contested, 4 tackles, 2 free kicks against. That delivered him a score of 68 after posting consecutive 100 plus scores to start the season. A down week, but not complete panic stations yet. You don't want to see the green to red switch arrow, because that, unfortunately for owners, means a drop-off in form. Matty Roberts, I got the keeper symbol on. His kicking numbers have gone in week by week. After opening round, we weren't expecting as many, as he only had 1, but they've gone up to 3, then 5. The Lizard still has a major monopoly there, as we spoke about last week before the bye, but he gets in smart positions to receive the ball, has a lovely left boot. I see him keeping a D6 position in my side for the remainder of the year if things continue the way they go. SDK just hasn't worked out as a pick. I think we have to accept that now. It's really tough for those that trade him in early, but he was subbed last week over a sore Shannon Neal. He comes up against an angry Max Gorn this week. He'll be doing everything he can to get the Ds out of that hole. He looked great in round 1, but has looked ordinary since. A bit of fool's gold here for me. There's a chance he comes good, but who knows with this game. He's without doubt a talent at the very least. And Jaden Shaw is another one still on the chopping block for me, as you can see from the symbol. Played a great DFS matchup in St Kilda last week. Still couldn't go to triple figures. So the average of 81, it's in no man's land. Seems like a nothing pick. The break even is in red. And look, the only positive note I can see, at least he did take some kick-ins last week. On to the sub 250k defenders. And while we hats off to this group, because many redeemed themselves in a big way last week. At the top, Bicey, he was on the bye, but smashed it out of the park the week before. Waiting for team sheets, but surely undroppable after that, along with Moraes in the midfield, I think, is the best rookie option this week. Sydney do have some players to return. There's slight risk to this, but he's a mature age player, already shown that he's more than worthy of a spot in the 22. And remember back to his sub game, came on and dominated. So I like him a lot, and is the perfect rookie downgrade option down back this week if he is named. So remember, keep a look at those team sheets. Cos was a massive miss for me. Looked great again, even with College Asney coming back potentially in a week or two. Looks solid for job security. Received praise from Scott in the last couple of weeks. Backed up his performance well. Still has a second lowest break even on this list, even after a nice rise last week. You can see the moneymaker symbol there, but you can also see that the ship is sailing. But with Bice on the bubble, he does seem the better cash option. If named, I'm sure that he will be, but just, yeah, I want to make certain on that. Make sure that you do look at the team sheets with Bicey, but congrats if you did jump on Cos last week. He seems like a ripping selection. Benny Patton may struggle to get back into the side, but has some handy DPP for swings. See what happens again with team sheets, but doubt he comes back in. The next 3 really did redeem themselves, saved some of our weeks in round 3. Zach Reed, who's on the bye this week, punched out an 88. All of a sudden looks like he's picked up the pace of the game. Did a great job on Georgiadis, who was looking on stop ball early. You can use it as a loop for this week as well, which could be handy. Trainer banged out a 90 for us to send his break even down again. Exactly what we needed. And any slight worries we had when it comes to job security, they went right out the window. Both of those blokes an easy hold. Jacko Pryor wasn't as impressive as the other two, but still scored well, made his way past 200k. Another one on the bye this week, but a hold after that performance. James Leake, I've got the low job security symbol on. Watch for team sheets, but if named, I think we keep. If not, it's an easy sideways trade, just a bicey for me. We'll finish with Liam O'Connell. The poor bloke, a sickening collision. Sickening for those that own him in our Supercoach teams. Really hope the young bloke recovers well, and best wishes to him because Supercoach is just a game. But he'll be missing for at least this week due to concussion protocols. You can see that with the symbol there. Does he come straight back into the side? I'm not too sure. If Stocker comes in and plays well, that may make it difficult for him. But I really don't know. With that low score in the system, even when he does come back, he'll be a slow burn. So it hurts, but either way, it's not going to be fun. On to the midfielders, 500k plus, and at the top of the list we have Matty Rao. We've seen this movie before, haven't we? Remember back to just last year when Abs' Weapons started the season like a house on fire, only to taper off into irrelevance and become one of the most frustrating picks of the year, particularly for those who paid up top dollar. Cough, cough, Spills. Sorry, a little drive-by there, mate. But the form line, it's hard to deny. After smashing the Eagles before the bye, punched out a 136 against the D's from 36 touches, massive 19 contested, laid 7 tackles, 13 clearances. He's in full beast mode, and based off last week, he looks to have finally added to his outside game. I've never seen Rao take on opponents like he did in the weekend, and he was actually burning it off. Like, he was just burning off opponents. He's tucking the ball under his arm, having a run. Along with being an inside bull, that is the perfect combination for an uber premium average. Does it continue? I really hope that it does. We know the talent's there. We'd all remember back to his first couple of games of his career, former #1 pick. And this could finally be the year where he takes the competition by storm. The Suns are on the rise, but they have had an easy fixture to date. I'm still wary of this pick. I want to see him line up against one of the better midfields just before I would commit. Libba keeps making me look silly for avoiding him, and looks like the most inspirational captain in the league at the moment. Just doing Libba things, getting his hand dirty, finding the pill, putting his body on the line. A clearance king, so much to like about his game, especially with the other two big boys out of the mix through injury. The concussions from last year still worry me, but a fit and healthy Libba, that's got top 8 potential written all over it. 132 average is sublime. Noah Anderson, I'd love to select this bloke as a pod. Love the way he goes about it. I've never purchased a ticket on the Noah coaster before because I do like consistency in scoring, but captain the club now, looking good. You can see the roller coaster symbol there, but it is going up, consistent to date. Hope it stays like that. Jordan Dawson, I have the rock solid symbol on because I think he'll be a rock solid pick. Can score well in any role. Will have his lower type games, but the floor's high, and when he has a ceiling game, he can go really big. Easy hold as an owner, but I don't think we need to trade into him for now. Zerrett shoulders, that'd be hurting after carrying his team so much, but they can rest up with the bye this week. I love the look of him though. Want him in my team at some stage. NDB had a ripper. I'm a very happy owner at the moment. At least one of my primo mids is performing, all beat against the easier opposition, but I'm absolutely going to take it. 131, from 29 touches, 7 tackles, 2 behinds. Both shots at goal were relatively easy, so 150 I think was left on the table for sure. He led the Dockers for metres gained, also had 6 clearances, so it was good to see him on fire early. Had 2 holding the ball frees, gets a gift of a 50-metre penalty, then misses. Couldn't believe it, but as I said, no complaints. Oh, some owners are complaining though about this man. Connor Rosie, from the heights of 130 average to score only halfway that with a 64 on the weekend. It was a tough watch for owners as the Essendon mids, they just went to work on him. I wouldn't call it a hard tag, more of a team approach with blokes like Durham making life really difficult for him. They smashed him with every chance they got, and the poor captain was an obvious target for them. Only 22 touches at 59%. 210 metres gained, laid 4 tackles, but given the fact he wasn't getting much of the ball, I would have liked to see his defensive pressure at a bit of a higher level, and that tackle count maybe closer to 8. The scary thing is that he'll likely face a James Jordan tag this week, so with that 64 already in the system for his next 2 price changes, adding another sub-70 score, that would put owners in a very tough position, especially if you don't view him as a keeper. His CBAs were actually the season high rate, when at 68%, 65 in the first 2 rounds, and then all the way up to 81% last week. So hopefully he doesn't cop that tag, it goes to somebody else, but be prepared for a bit of a lower one this week. And Chadley Warner looks set for 4 DPP with the way things are tracking currently. That automatically gets him around the mark for a top 6 forward, and his relevance will skyrocket, so one to monitor for sure. King Nick's probably one I'd wait on for now. He could go early, but I think we can get him at an even more affordable price. We want to see some good scores anyway, just to improve our confidence levels trading him in. The 3 round is very low for potential, and I think he's an Uber to target. Tom Green, he could feast this week. I'm backing him to get very close to that break even against the Eagles. Could also be a pod captain for those that own him. I can't even describe the pain of owning Lachie Neale. I've talked too much about him, but teammates are no longer blocking for him. He's happy to sacrifice his own game as captain, create space for his teammates rather than hunt the ball. If he doesn't get tagged, he dominates. If he does get tagged, he'll continue to post lower scores. I have to hold against the Tigers this week. Surely McIntosh can't stop him like others have. He's got the Dogs, the Pies after that, so nice midfield matchups. Hopefully he can get back on track with 3 tons in a row to reward the faith. If you've already jumped ship, I sort of envy you, to be quite honest. Dunks, I've got the safest houses symbol on. Should go bang against the Tigers this week, and we know he won't cop a tag. 132 average is up there with the best. Sarong hasn't had the biggest start to the season. Copped some attention at times. On the weekend, scored a 105, which is respectable, but not what we want for his price. Looking at the stat sheet, he could have had a monster. 35 touches, half of those contested, but he had a whopping 8 Muppets, which brought his score down closer to the 100 mark. If he cleans that up a bit, that's a 125 score plus for sure. I'd be staying away for now. I don't see the value or form line warranting selection in your side, but definitely one to keep on the watch list. Track, well, he'd be giving owners nightmares at the moment, and they are in an awkward situation. To me, it just looks down the dumps. Voided confidence, voided motivation, simply playing too much time forward. 98, 78, 80 to start the year. That's a big concern. I've already mentioned it, but the Ds are all over the place at the moment. We can't forget his life-threatening injury as well. Has that got something to do with this? I'm not saying it has, but I'm just looking for answers. Personally, I don't think Goody is playing him to his strengths. That's just my opinion. You could say, based on what we've seen, that he's not looking like a top 8 to 10 mid. However, could he be a top 6 forward? I think he can. Now, I'm not sure what his exact forward split is, but there is a chance that he obtains forward DPP. It is a big watch, because if he does, all of a sudden we'll most likely want him in our sides. It's a play with potential, and if Track is available as a forward, it'll be so hard to pass up. So it's a very tough spot for those who already have him in their side. LDU has a stinky 3-round average, but remember what he did last year, stunk it up and then returned to some top-line form. Not a fun own at this stage, a possible target later on. And Isaac Heaney, fresh off the bye, has the biggest break-even on this list. A big no for now, but another primo to watch and then target if he hits form and he gets to the right price. On to the midfielders, 200 to 500k, and Noddy is sitting up the top of the list again this week, and it's now in a new price range. Welcome to the 250 to 500k category, son. It is very well deserved. Could have actually been a bigger score. Got unlucky with a couple little things. I remember he got pinged for insufficient intent, kicking to his forward line, which was a joke, but no complaints overall. He's a gun. We should all have him by now. Will Ashcroft, I labelled him a hold last week. Good to see I got something right. In his post-match presser, Fags labelled Will's game as the best of his career, better than the final against the Giants, better than his Norm Smith medal performance. That's high praise, and what a reward for owners and those that held the faith. Now coming up against the Tigers this week, he could put in another monster. Clayton Oliver, wow, I tell you what, I was crowing last week that the man was back, but I've never seen this fella so fumbly in his life. It was like he was playing with a wet bar of soap. Maybe that's why I didn't want to pick it up. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. but I'm hoping this was a one-off, because he's much cleaner than that. He's an easy hold. I hope he returns to some strong form this week. Jake Isaligo, a super pod, has the best 3-round average of any player on this list. We aren't really looking to trade into this price range at the moment with the other options available this week. It is a shame. It's a little bit disrespectful, because he looks fantastic, and I think it's safe to say he's going to take his game to the next level in 2025. If we see it again this week, I'm going to take a deep dive going into next week, because he's been a ripping starting pod selection for the very few that had the faith. A young superstar on the rise, in my opinion. Adam Shearer, another solid performance by Shearer, although he didn't quite reach triple figures. He actually did get up to 102 around the 10-minute mark the last term, but got scaled back. He's an easy hold for owners, but no need to trade him in. Will Day, I would have put my house on the fact that Bedford would go to Day straight away, but did for a little bit. Ended up not working out that way. Went to Newcombe. In the week that was, I shouldn't actually be surprised that Toby did go to Newcombe. This was a phenomenal result for those that held Will Day. If you did, you simply hold again this week and wait until a nice run. That is coming along very, very soon. He's got the bye. Just enjoy the week off. And Finn Callaghan, amen. My wretched luck continued with a Finn flop this week. Now, I was watching the Lions game, so I didn't see this one, but sent through a message to the lads asking how Callaghan was going, and I thought they were taking the P155. Sadly for me, they weren't trolling me. It was Finn on Finn. Sammy Mitchell decided out of nowhere that Callaghan was not to receive a good Supercoach score this week. Bugger UDR. Now, many people are panicking with a break even in the red, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I'd be holding for sure because I'm expecting a huge bounce back this week against the Eagles at home. These are the fixtures that we crave, and everything should be perfectly set up for Finn to dominate. If he doesn't manage to reach triple figures this week, then I'll start to get concerned. For now, I'm hoping the tags don't come and he gets that break even back into green areas. So if you want a real pod captaincy option or VC option, if you're willing to go there and you've got some big kahunas, this could be a very big lone wolf play this week. On to the midfielders under 250k. A lot of names on the list, but there is one standout option. It's Christian Moraes. Looks to be the must-have rookie of the week after delivering a ripping score of 94 on the weekend. 27 touches with close to an even kick-to-handball ratio. Used the ball really well at 85% efficiency and had very decent tog at 84%. This high tog is a very good sign. Seems like he's got that defined wing role now. Certainly more of an outside player with only the 5 contested and the 1 tackle, but no issues there. Also took 7 marks, so providing a nice option for his teammates. With Butters coming back, there is a chance his job security is affected, but I think for now, regardless of the Butters return, he's put his best foot forward to lay claims to that starting wing role every week. A no-brainer trade-in for those looking for a midfield downgrade and a great short-term moneymaker. Murphy Reed, what a massive miss he was. Punched out at 106 last week after I had concerns. He couldn't even go a 60 in round 1 after snagging 4 goals. Now, looks like one of the best of the lot. Scoring potential is much better than I initially expected. The ship is sailing, and without the man above, you could actually look to go there. For most of us, we just have to accept the fact that we missed him. Unlike Janath, and geez, hope around rookies just start to perform half as well as him. A negative 71 break even, such a huge reward, like Janath decided to go there. Campo, he's been left out of the side again, now looking like a dead rookie. I think he comes back at some stage, but not good signs when he isn't even the emergency this week. I think we let him go. Henderson hopefully keeps his spot to earn us some more coin, but a score in the 40s isn't what we want. Again, I think a hold for now. Hasty, Hanley holds if they're named in the best 22 and not selected as sub. Levi had a down week, but kicked an important goal. I expect him to deliver us a nice best 18 score this week against the Tigers at the G. I think he'll actually relish playing his first AFL game right there at the home of footy. Here we go. Harvey Langford. Now, I'm not sure what to do here, and I'm not sure what to advise because he looked really, really good. There's obviously injuries to some players there. He led the way for contested possessions. Just looks superb, but we've already seen him as sub. He does come at a higher price, and we do have Christian Moraes. So I don't think there's many that started Langford. I don't think there's a heap that would have already traded him in. So purely because of that fact, I think he's a little bit irrelevant this week. But you could go there if you want. If you back his potential in, and he's going to be a fantastic player, then yeah, there's no reason to suggest that he couldn't average as well or better than most of the picks that you see on the screen here. This is a very frustrating one. Poor old Xavier Lindsay. Had a miraculous recovery though. That's a positive. Only misses a week. He's definitely a hold if he can, even though his cash gen will stall for a bit. I'm just worried if he comes back as sub, that will really start to stall. But I'm hoping it's just a week. He can come back, continue to come on field in that best 22, reset that cash gen, and then make us some really nice coin. Mitch Nevitt, jeez, the frustration continues. From must-have rookie to sub, I seriously can't stand Chris Scott. An ex-line premiership player or not, I'm just not a fan. It beggars belief that in those conditions, the Nev didn't get an opportunity to start. He's a tackling beast, loves a contest, yet spent most of the game sitting on the pine. I just don't get it. I was speaking to Rookie Coach on live last Sunday, and as a passionate Cats man, he doesn't get it either. So, as we said, all of a sudden, Cash Gen, that's going to stall slightly, but surely he gets back in the starting 22. If he doesn't, unfortunately, I think he's a trade. Foz, a definite trade out for me. Not good at all for Supercoach. I turned the game on, I reckon it was halfway through the third, and the first thing I see is Foss with a 15-metre turnover directly to Curtin. Actually, I'd laugh because I'd already traded him out, but get off him, get a Moraes type in. Sid the sub, he'd be a great pick if named in the 22. And Sam Laylaw isn't producing what owners want at the price, and if he's your weakest midfield link and your best avenue to a Moraes, then I think he's a fine trade out. On to the big boys in the ruck, and let's be honest, this line is in shambles. Many were thinking of starting 3 ruck primos with 1 in the flex, but looks like that was not the way to go. Massive question marks everywhere, so I'm really not going to talk too much on this slide. 4 to know with Big O returning from illness. If you've got Archer Reed, that's better than Boyd. You've also got that DPP advantage. Very well played if you went there. Flinny hasn't returned since round 1, so looking dead for now. Not sure when or if he will return to the side. Could be this week, but who knows, could be in 10 weeks. TDK is literally the only ruck here I'd be comfortable trading into. If you do own Flynn and want to move him on, TDK is the obvious choice if you don't own him, but many teams already do. He's a great VC option as well. Marshall's a pod, maybe one to watch for later. My man Sherry was grabbing his hammy all game last week, but managed to play on. I hope he gets up for this week, but I'm prepared for him to be an out. Just so unlucky, and I do feel for those who trade him in for Flinny. The punishment continues, but I suppose they brought the punishment on themselves. Nank hit that last week, but had a dog of a game the week before. Big Kizza has a break-even of 202, so when that low score does drop out, could be a flex replacement or even a potential R2, so he's a massive watch for me. And the one we do need to discuss is Maxi Gorm. He's been an extremely frustrating starting pick. From memory, his big rise to popularity this pre-season was when the man above him, Briggs, went down, and the round 1 matchup of Gawn versus Lockie Keefe was looming. People locked in a 200-plus score, and that was a big attraction to the pick. Unfortunately, fast forward to the end of round 3, and Big Maxi is sitting on a lowly average of 95. Now, what do we do? I don't blame you for trading, because if he does go at his projected score of 99, he'll lose exactly 50k. How long are you prepared for him to wait to come good? Or do you think his off-field issues are affecting him? Look, I'm not going to get into that because I've got no idea. Is it age that simply caught up with him? If you think he bounces back, it's a hold, but it's such a tough one. I don't even really know what to say. What I do know is this. He's a proud captain of a struggling club, and I can see him coming back to form and actually dominating the Geelong Rucks this week. It's just gut feel, and I could be off, but if you trade him out, be prepared for him to absolutely slap you in the face. So I did put the captaincy corner video out this week, and he was in my top 3 VC options. As I said, gut feel, I could be completely off, but surely Big Max just goes bang. On to the 500k plus forwards, and again, I'm going to turbo through this because there are only 2 players on the list. Rankin, I'm viewing as a must-have pillar in our forward line. Nix has indicated that he wants to continue to play him around the ball, and he looks red hot at the moment. Such a safe pick, a massive upgrade on someone like a Horn Francis. I'd recommend getting him in as soon as you can, and I could see him continue to average around the 115 mark for the remainder of the season. And Dogger Jackson's had a ripping start to the year. We expected this given the fact that Shrek's been on the sidelines. A dominant performance against a bottom-tier ruckman in BJ Williams. He scored a massive 165, 17 touches, 35 hitouts, 5 marks, a couple of tackles and a goal. The man's on fire, but Shrek's return is imminent, so the role won't be there for much longer, so I would not be investing. On to the forwards, 250 to 500k. Now, we see 11 names on the screen, but 3 stand out like dogs' marbles this week, with Humphrey, Marrick and Baz all garnering the discussion. So, look, we'll quickly go through the others, and then we'll focus on the 3. Daniel and McRae, they're locks, must-haves that we all own, so really no need to talk about them, to be honest. Darcy, he's looking generational, a great draft option. 106 is an impressive average, certainly more meat on the bone there. Hugo Garcia smashed it out of the park with still a late withdrawal last week, from no tog to sub to looking like the man of steel himself. When given opportunity, he can deliver a nice average, but I've got no idea what happens to him when Steele returns. If you held, you got a bit lucky here, but kudos to you. He's definitely a hold, if not named sub this week. I think Steele's return should have a fair impact on him, though. Simpkin looks fantastic. Realistically, could be a keeper if things continue the way they are. I wonder how Wardlaw will affect him when he comes back. I'm not too sure, but with the other value picks, I just don't see many going with Jai this week. Sanders is probably a hold if you're not keen on one of the Sanders is probably a hold if you're not keen on one of the three mid prices, but if you are, he could be the perfect pivot. Played his best game of the year last week for an 88, but hasn't set the world on fire to start, and that's an absolute understatement. Matty Kennedy kicked a ripping sausage roll to sink the Blues last week. Didn't he love it? Given more opportunity with Bont and Treloar out, he should be a solid pick, at least up until their return. Let's get this out of the way. Right down to the dungeons of the list, the Horny Man has been one of the most underwhelming starting picks of the year, and only 3 games. Can we make our decision? He's seriously on the chopping block for some coaches, and to the eye, he just doesn't seem interested. Attitude problems may be coming to the floor. 82 points on the weekend from 22 touches, 10 contested at 68%. His score's actually saved when he kicked that goal. His CBA rate, well, that sits at 62% with 77, 41%, and then 71% last week. So not huge numbers, but it's not like he isn't getting any time in there. It's a massive decision which way to go. And it could be a season-defining move to actually anti-pod him. Some will keep the faith and back him in, and some will chop him for a money-making option or, say, a keeper in Rankin. I can see him coming back. I really can. And it's not a move I recommend. What do? I'm even sitting here before recording, I'm still a little bit unsure. I hate recommending to trade a Primo out and then most likely in. If he scores 120 this week, he won't actually lose that much, and then traders may have seller's remorse right away. I'd love to sit on the fence here. I'd love to give sensible advice to back in your premiums, but I am personally highly considering splitting him into 2 of the next blokes that we're going to talk about on this list. The bloke with the lowest break-even is Bailey Humphrey, aka Humphrey B. Bear, Humpty Dumpty, the Bear, and I'm sure there are a few more nicknames to that as well. We did a big deep dive on the potty this week, and we all rate him as a trade-in. Go back to that for all the in-depth numbers and discussion, but to put it simply, he's punched out 2 consecutive hundreds to start 2025, and now sits with a nice negative break-even of 55. With a projected score of 72, he's going to rise over 55k just this week. Very much part of why I have the buy now symbol on him. Can he be a keeper? Look, who knows? Does he have some outside potential? Yes. Why are we buying him? For me, as that short-term money maker with some good scores in the system, that's a really good sign. He hasn't got the easiest matchup this week, but looking at his next 2, he could absolutely feast. So I am actually a big fan of the pick. If you look at his CBA numbers, it's actually looking pretty good. He's preferred to Miller at the moment as well as Flanders. Miller spent a lot of time forward last week, so kudos to this young man. Has he kicked the captain out or the ex-captain out? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that yet, but short term, it looks like we can have our cake and eat it too. What am I doing? Well, I'm highly considering him. You could say that there's potential for Sam Flanders to come back in that midfield along with Touk Miller. So, yeah, that could be a little bit concerning. I totally get it. But if you look at that 3-round average of 108, he is an early pick. He's pushing into that midfield. He can impact forward as well. I think there is a lot to like. So, Humphrey, along with the next bloke that we're going to talk about, is, well, a very tempting option. I'll quickly get Baz out of the way before I get to a very special player request slide from a legend of the community. Look, I think he's a must-have. In Game 1 v Freo, 32 touches, 15 contested, 5 tackles, 7 clearances and a goal, almost 700 metres gained when at 72% disposal efficiency, 147 Supercoach points in Game 2 versus our boys, 25 touches, 18 of those kicks, 10 contested, 5 clearances, 11 tackles, but he had multiple turnovers, 3 free kicks against, And probably most concerning, he went at only 28% disposal efficiency, but it was in the wet. We know he's not the cleanest player, and I'm pretty happy to forgive that. A break-even of 3, plays Melbourne this week. Out of the 3, I'm most confident he's a keeper, 26% and 35% CBA rate. Look, that's not really what we're after, but he'll find the ball wherever he plays. I say he is the safe and sensible option. Durability may be a concern, but the tog's still good. 68.3% ownership at the time of recording. If you don't own him, I think you got to go there. It's a pretty scary anti-pod and a bit of a pod VC option for you this week. Now it's time to get to our special player request slide, and it's requested by, as I mentioned, a legend of the community, Cheese, aka I Don't Like Cheese. Now, why have we done this for Cheese? He is an absolute champion. I mentioned on my stream the other day that if anyone donates to the channel on any sort of video in any way, then I'm more than happy to create them their own individual player slide for any player of their choice, and I'll talk about him during the stock market. So that's what I've done for this absolute legend of a bloke here, and he wanted to discuss Ryan Marich, and as mentioned, is one of the big 3 options this week, along with Humpty and Baz. So let's take a look at the numbers for you, mate. His break-even sits at negative 37. His 3-round average sits at 76, with a projected score, and this is very lowly projected score if you look at that last 2, of 51. That will get him a rise of 39k, so close to 40k if he gets a tad over a 50. He's currently owned by 6.1% of the comp, so that's certainly gone up this week. If we look at his last 2 weeks for average, and that's why I've got the asterisks here, because I'm only taking into account his last 2 weeks. I'm avoiding that sub game that he had in round 1. Now, that is a slight concern. He did start as a sub. 2 weeks later, he's looking fantastic, so a potential red flag there. However, in the last 2, he's averaged 27 disposals, only 3.5 contested, so a bit of an outside seagull type player, but this is what we really like. Out of a total of 26 available kick-ins, he has taken 14 of those, so over half the kick-ins have gone to this great man on the screen. He's played on 94% of the time from those, so that's also a really nice sign. 123 last week. We've mentioned the kicks there already, but last week 24, 4 handballs and 8 marks. With Gov out, and this is the big thing, short term, he looks to have a fantastic role, and part of the role is having the majority of those kick-ins. If this continues, then that gives him such a good floor, and there's so much meat to the bone with this price. He's got that DPP status, which also comes in really handy. The only frustrating thing is, I almost wish he didn't have that mid status, so we could get him as that defensive forward option. So again, similar to the other 2, have your cake and eat it too. Make money and get good points on field. It's just so hard when we've got 3 fantastic options this week, but with Gov out, as we mentioned, it's looking like potentially 2 to 4 weeks. Just in the short term, if he can go, geez, an average, close to an 80 even for us, he's going to go bang bang with some really nice cash gens. So Cheesy, I can see exactly why you're looking at him. He's almost an identical price to Humphrey. If you've already got Baz, I love this boost. In Marich, Humphrey, and Moraes, I think that is the best boost that you can look at this week, mate, if you are already a Baz owner. If you don't already own Baz, then I think this is a much tougher decision. I would be going with Baz over both Marich and Humphrey, but it's a bit of a toss-up between the 2. Marich for that role, you love those kick-ins. Humphrey, an early pick. They want to get gains into him. Has a decent mid-roll, but we don't know if that's sustainable. So some may go with this man. I don't blame you if you do, but if you do, Chizo, all the best luck, brother. Much love, and thanks again for your generous donation, my man. And we'll finish with the forward options under 250k, and there's no surprise here. We have Davidson at the top of the list, dominated the game, looked like a forward premium to be honest, rising by the week, a very popular starting pick for good reason. His round 1 score was a bit of a scare, but now we are absolutely in love again. His numbers from last week have been well documented, so I won't go through all of those because we all own him, and all I'll say is condolences if you didn't get his 127 on field last week. In any other week, Closey would be a very popular option with his DPP, low price, and fantastic 2-round average in the 70s. Our main concerns are job security and the fact that he's coached by Chris Scott. Look, if you want to take the punt and he keeps his spot for, say, 3 weeks, then this should be a big win and worth a trade in. I just don't have the confidence, and there are some lingering question marks. If you've got a better read than me, then go for it and enjoy the nice rise. I haven't looked into him too much, simply due to the options between the 250 to 400k range, which we just discussed. Curtin played a ripper, showed why the Crows selected him with an early pick. I'm really wrapped for Crows fans after this one. I am afraid that Ship has sailed at his price though, and not sure if we can expect him to score like that every week. A reward for owners and a great turnaround. An easy 50k made if he scores a 69. Joel Hamling, he'll look to gain defensive status, but the inflated price does put me off. You can't deny his average for the price though, and if he goes 60, he'll make 50k. Erasmus took advantage of weaker opposition, punched out a surprise 80 from 18 touches, a third of those contested, going at 83%. Nothing else too impressive here. A tackle behind, 4 clearances. His tog was only at 65%, so nice points per minute. I'm just not 100% sure on what his job security and tog looks like with Jager coming back. Ethan Reid, he's got a decent average for his price, but just not one I'm too keen on. Maxi Call, he's hit back strong, smashing those who selected Camper over him. Handy DPP and job security looks great. I will discuss this bloke a bit. Sam Powell-Pepper, he was one of Port's best in the first half. Now, this is super frustrating. He was displaying leadership, working his butt off, but with about 2 minutes to go in the second quarter, he got smashed, and for a second I thought he was KO'd. I reckon he lost 3 points, looking at the live scores, for what was a hard ball get. Look, from memory, the ball did spill out, but I felt really ripped off as an owner. He was on 48 points for the half, finished on 50 fantasy at halftime as well, but then he went down, got assessed, and never looked right when he came back on. Super frustrating, basically scored nothing in the second half, but he did look really good in that first half. He's got a negative break even, so he's still a hold for me if you can. Stone, I'd be happy to hold or even move up to one of the big 3 this week. When I say the big 3, we're talking about those mid-price options. Should get names again this week, and also will obtain some very handy DPP with defensive forward status on the cards come round 6. So I know some are holding, say, Ben Payton for that reason. So you could do the same thing with Stone if you're an owner and just hold on to him when he does get the change. Joe Berry's got some more coins to make, but a disappointing selection to date. Hewitt was a sub, which is super frustrating because his cash gen stalls for a bit. I hope it was more of a management thing, and I'll hold faith that he's named in the 22 to face the Giants. If not, it's really going to hurt. And Kako, he's got the buy. One I'd definitely hold on to as well and just lose as a loop this week. Great job security. Not the best scoring potential, but we all know that at least he'll play every week if fit. So that's it for this week, guys. All the best of luck with your trade ins and your trade outs, and we'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers, bye.